Hello future tech leaders, I'm Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
Today we will go through access profiles. First, let me open an employee and show you where these are getting first assigned. I'm going to his people editor. So if you go to job assignment, there will be a separate tab called access. You can see here right. So this is where all the access profile items will be getting assigned. On an access profile display profile, then what we have? These two items will be getting assigned there. Other items will be on the employee role. Pay coordinate profile work profile. These items will be here. And if he's a manager, then he'll have some additional items. Let me show you. So if he's a manager, so for employee, those are the items which will be available in the job assignment. But for a manager, he will have additional. Like employee role, he will have employee role and also two manager roles. So this will have some other additional items which will be seen in the paycode access profile. And again he will have mainly one different item, which is where is it? GAB. In the access profiles, he will have one more item called generic data access profile. This is only for managers. Generic data access profile is also available here. This is only for the managers. Now let's see what is each item. Let's go from the bottom. First, paycodes. Paycodes, this we will be mapping it to the employees. Where is it? If he is an employee, he'll be having only the employee role. In the employee role, he'll be having paycode edit profile or paycode access profile. You can call that. Here there will be multiple items. Whatever we create in this area will come there as in the drop down. What this does is if I click on new, we can choose a set number of paycodes, 5 or 6 paycodes, which the employee should be having access to, and we can give it a name. Example. You can see there are a number of items. Like USA manager, USA employee, I'll open something. So this is having access to only 3 pay codes. So if I assign this pay code access profile to the employee role here, if I choose this as USA pay code edit profile, when the employee logs in, he'll be able to see only these 3 pay codes in his time slot. Now we are super admin. We have access to all the pay codes, but when we assign this as the pay code access profile to the employee, when the employee logs in, he'll be seeing only 3 pay codes, not the whole list. It will restrict them. So now we cannot see it because we are logging as a super user. For us all, the pay codes will be open. But if we set this up in this employee's profile only, he'll be able to see only the codes we have chosen in this particular pay code access profile. We can create a number of profiles based on the requirements, and we can assign it to each person or a group of people. This is about pay code access profile. These are all the same thing. Let me come to the last. Again, reports are also the same like what we saw in pay code access profile. We can create one and choose. Whatever the report should be visible to the employee, that particular employee or manager, not all. We can handle it. So basically, access profile is like we are choosing what should be available to the employee, what should be available to the manager, what should be available to HR, and what should be available to the super admin. We are limiting their access. What they should have access to. So in this case reports, we will pick reports. What are the reports should be available to the employee and what should be available to the manager and what should be available to the other people, HR or super admin. So if you see here, we will be able to see all the reports. Some companies or some managers, they need not to have these report access. They will need only specific reports and they should be having only access to those. In that case, we can create a report access profile, and when they go in and check on the reports, they will be able to see whatever the reports we have chosen here for their folder. Only that will be available. So that's about reports. And again, work rule is also the same thing, but this mostly implies you'll not be having access to it. It's like manager's access. It's similar to, we created pay codes, right? Like pay policies, we created pay rows, right? Next to that would be work rules. So this is also like access to the managers. What work rules the manager will be having access to? Mostly will not be using it. But again, whatever the work rules we created will be coming here. We need to select and put what should be visible to the manager. There might be changes under pay codes. They will say they will add a new pay code. They're creating a new pay code for the company. They will say, okay, these are the groups that needs to have access to this. So add this to them. Or if they are sensing a pay code, like they're removing a pay code from the organization, then they will say remove these from these people's access. Okay, so this is actually a more or less one-time kind of work. Apart from that, what you will get is, maybe you will get like, can you add this report to this population access? Can you remove this report from this population access? Can you add this pay code? Remove this pay code? Like the enhancements will be coming. Same goes to the shift templates and pattern templates. Shift templates and pattern templates. It's like the whatever the shifts and templates We create a pattern. We create it for the schedules. Remember, we created a number of shift templates and pattern templates for the creating schedules like what shift is, and shift templates means each day. And pattern templates means it's a group. What we created based on the shift template, if you see here. What are the patterns we created? 9 to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. Like, these are the patterns we create on the schedules, right? Out of this, what the employee or the manager should have access to. This might be working more often, like when you create a new shift template or new pattern template. They will say like these populations should have access to it. So as soon as you create, you need to add that to that particular group. Like the bottom mode of these are like all the things are same. So what we will be doing is we will be creating like there will be a number of reports. There will be reports. There will be pattern templates. We need to group it in a way that which population should have access to what. This is more of like organizing, like we're not giving everything to the people. Only a super user or admin will have access to the full system. We will limit everything for like mostly the managers. Even for the reports, they will be having only access to maybe 10 or 20 reports. Whatever they do day to day, we will be restricting the access. That's how what we use these items, data, access profile, whatever is down here, and it is mapped to this area. Pay code edit profile, work group profile, these everything is mapped here. And for the managers, additionally, they have access to again what we say, work group profile, report profile. For my employees, report profile will not be there, only for the managers. It will be available. You need to choose. These are all again same. All these three are pay code access profile only. What happens is we can choose different items for this. That means in edit what we are choosing, those pay codes he will be able to edit. In view what we are choosing, he will be able to see those. But he'll not be able to edit it. If it's already in the demand, some employee has vouched it. He cannot edit it. He can see it. That's it. Restricted means these pay codes will not be visible to him. If you want to put like there are 100 pay codes, you have to restrict only 3, 4. Then we can choose that, only that. Those code will be restricted. That's it on this. And then these items will come under the ARM setup. So I'll teach you when we go to ARC setup. So apart from these, when we go to generic data access profile, this is where specifically this is what the managers access. Let me show you how this looks like. We'll open one. Anything, or even we'll open the all access. I'll open the new one. If you see here, the name is like Malaysia and payroll manager. Manager want to see specific pay policies, configuration for salary and price. So first, if we see or we need to see what are the things available under setup category. This is a higher level of this. This will determine what the manager can see in the setup item. We are in the setup right for employees. Setup will not be visible. Here we can determine whether the setup should be visible to the manager. And in the setup, what are the items he can see. Out of access profile accrues data integration, employment terms forecaster planner. Like navigators pay policies. These are all the categories which we have in the setup. Okay, so in these, what are the modules should be visible to us? For us, everything is visible. But mostly when the managers log in most companies, they don't give access to the setup. Or some companies give access to the setup. In that case, they will be able to see maybe accruals and pay policies. And in accruals, what they can see? Only the policies which are assigned to them. Something like that. So these are all determined under generic data access profile. So in the setup, what the managers should be able to access. Example, if you see here, let me go to accruals. If I go to accruals, we can select what accrual code should be visible to. Here we haven't selected anything, but because mostly they will not give access to it. But if some company has a requirement that managers also can change their accrual policies and so on and so forth, we can choose what code should be available to him. What accrual policies should be visible to him? Whatever we have created in the accruals will be popping up here. Similarly, accrual profiles, dates limits, whatever we have created under the accruals. We can choose what should be available, what should be visible to the particular manager group. So when they click on accruals and click on accrual pay code, only those will be available. If you are selecting empty, that particular item will not be available. Anything will not be available. Moreover, in this case, we haven't given any access to it. Mostly will not give access to this setup. If there's need, maybe we'll give access to a few items. Even if a company has a requirement that accruals should be visible to the employee like manager in the sector. In that case, we'll give only accruals which are applicable to that particular population and those policies, those codes, only that. This is with accruals. Again, integrations will be there. N number of integrations will be there. What integration should be visible to him? That we can choose. So these are the interfaces. Out of this, what interface should be visible to the manager? So he can click here and run on his need. So there will be some. These are all important integrations which we should give access. But there will be some integrations like pulling the data from Kronos and giving to him as a file, like maybe some specific. Apart from the report, if they need a specific kind of data, they can have an integration created to pull some data. So that we can give access to the managers. If you want to pull it periodically to see some changes, maybe the punch import, how an employee has punched. So if we have such integration, we can maybe select and give access to that so that only those integration will be visible to the manager. Also the lookup tables. Currently, we don't have any lookup tables, but most programs will have some lookup tables to map, like pay codes from Kronos to payroll system or payroll system to Kronos. So those items, whether anything should be visible to him, if available. So these items will be under data integration. Mostly it's like in the setup, what are the things that should be visible to the manager? And even in that, if you say example, we have a Kronos policy, a Kronos code. Out of this, what are? The Kronos code should be available. So those things also we will choose here. So we have seen Kronos data integration. It's similar to pay policies. Whatever is under the pay policy will be coming here. All the pay policy building blocks, from workloads to overtime to zones, everything will be available here. We need to pick what should be available, what should be visible to the manager. If you see, here for this manager, we haven't selected anything at all. Means he doesn't need to have access to it. If yes, If he needs to have access to it, then we can select OK, fixed rules, only bi-weekly should be available. Holiday credit rule is what should be available. If he goes to the setup, if he logs in and goes to the setup, what should be available to him? So these items we will choose in this generic data access profile. Generic data access profile. This is where we determine what access profile he will be having access to, what accruals, what integrations. Then about pay policies, what he'll be having, and also organization setup. What are the labor levels that he will be having access to? It is like some example. If you go under organization, we'll have certain items. In these, what we should have access to. What we saw there is labor levels. So the first question is whether he should be having access to it. No, then fine, nothing to choose. If yes, what labor levels that he should be having access to? What are we created here? But only only batch 6 and batch 7 means. We need to choose that in that setup which is available here. Some companies will not be giving any access to the managers. Everything will be done through admin and other thing. Only the manager will be approving and signing of the time card and editing his time card. That's it. And 1 or 2 reports. Reports, they will be giving access. Okay, reports will be given access to them. Reports for the reason of so like they should be running the reports. So that will be given access to them for 1 or 2 reports. But other thing, everything will be given access to the admin, to the HR admin and supervisors. So even for HR admin, we'll be giving what access he needs. Some companies might use a few access to the pay policies. It depends. They will say, these are the items will be mostly. These are determined during initial implementation. What should be there? What should not be there? If there is a change coming up, major change coming up in the organization, then they would say like, okay, these changes needs to be done. Or they will say like only currently. Example. Only these 2 interfaces are currently visible. Add the third interface also to the manager's access so that he can run them full data. That these requests we will get once in a while. In that way, we will be able to. But interview time, they will be asking questions on this. That is the reason I'm stressing more on this. They'll ask you like how we are restricting this access. How we are restricting what integrations should be visible to the employee. What will be visible to the manager and what will be visible to the superintendent, how we are doing it. We are doing it through generic data access profile. And then there will be having a like option for data integration. You'll choose that. They will be asking for all these actual pay policies. What each item like, whatever is in the setup category, what should be available to the manager, what should be available to the employee. We are determining through generic data access profile. Okay, so these items specifically, employees will not have access to any of these items. Manager. If we wish, we can give access to a few of these items. So that is about the generic data access profile, and this is directly mapped to employees people tab. If you go here, you can see that. And now let me go to the other options available under access profile. This is a simple one in login profiles. So when we log in, we are giving username and password and logging in, right? When we just log in. So here we are giving you directly, we are opening the Kronos website. We are using our username and password to log in. So how we do this is because our login profile is mapped like this. Okay, 1 second. So if you see, here we only have 2 things. But usually there will be 4 or 5 items like how employees should be logging in, how this set of employees should be logging in, how manager can log in. Okay, so if I open new, I can show you. So first, how this depends is, well, first what this will ask is first item is like the passwords. Whether our password should expire like usually incorporate. We know, right? 90 days once our password will be expiring, right? So that we define here. If it is never fine. If it is yes, then we need to define after how many days of password thing our password should expire for pronouns. That we will be determining here. Okay. And then again the password history, whether we can use the previous password or not. Mostly they will not enable this, but we can say if you want, we can say like remember password for previous 2. So that we can have our previous 2 passwords here. Again the password what it should contain. Username spaces words from the forbidden list. Like this we can choose. And also what it should have uppercase, lowercase. The conditions for setting up a password we will determine here. Yeah, this is very much straightforward. How our password should be, how frequent it should expire. Depends on the by the name what we give. We can have it differently for employees. We can have it differently for mostly for super user. We will keep it in the expiration frequency never. So that we don't need to change pronounce password unless there is a need for us. But for employees and managers, we might say, okay, once in 6 months, once in 3 months. And these conditions needs to be met. Okay, that is about the password. Then we come to the session restrictions. Number of failed attempts. So to log out, so that then only the admin can enable them. So if we choose like number of logins before logout, means if you choose 5, means 5 times if I am entering my password. A wrong password, then my system will get locked out. And even after that, if I enter my correct password, it will not allow. And then we need to put a ticket to the Kronos admin to unlock my account. But if you do, a due duration means after 30 minutes. If you are giving me after 30 minutes, all my lock will go off. And again I will be able to log in. But mostly it will be 4 hours. So then what happens is if it gets locked out, what will happen is they will put a ticket to us and then we need to unlock them. This will be ticked. Once they choose 5 times wrong password or 5 times or 3 times, whatever you give them, this will be enabled so that when they try to log in, it will not allow them. Then we need to go here and disable this and save it. Then it will allow after that. If we enter the correct password. So this is about the login profile. What we have in the login profile. Let me go back in again. This is very much simple. Now let me go to the other item function access profile. So this would be quite confusing, but let me open one. And I'll give you access to timestamp and how I can play a quick one. So this is like a function access profile. It's like what are the functionalities in the Kronos we'll be having access to. We are having access to all the functionalities as we are super users. So as an employee or the manager, what are the functionalities they should be having access and they should not be having access? Example, let's take this. Under this, we have 5 categories. This is what everyone. Then we have this workforce manager. If we expand that, there will be multiple items. So, out of this, what are the items we'll be having access to? And what is not allowed? And let me show you a simple one she won't get related to, okay? Here first symbol. Let's say employees should not be having access to the people editor. Right, what we are doing right now. We are clicking here and going to the people editor. So employees should not be having access to the people editor. And in most companies, managers also will not have access to people editor because the data flows from the other system and it loads the people data's value. So managers should not be manually editing it. Only the admin should be having access to it. So in that case, we will disable this functionality to the employees as well as the managers. Where we do that, whether this functionality should be available or not is in function access profile. And you can see here we have an option called people editor. We can say whether it is allowed or not. We are choosing none. That means we are not giving anything to him under people editor. We can also expand it so that we can decide what to give access under that. Maybe like only this functionality under people editor, he can have access means he can choose that. But in the top itself, we have said none. That means we are not giving access to any of this. But at least person tab he can access and job assignment tab he can. Disable means we can do it here. Person and job assignment. You have the difference right. This is person tab. This is job assignment. Suppose there's a requirement. This tab can be visible to the manager and he can do edits but not this. Then we can do it like this. We need to expand the people editor like what we did here. We need to pick the plus sign here so that this is expanding. And here we can choose person editor. We can give allowed and we can make job assignment disallowed. That means he'll have access to people editor but only to the person tab. In our case, how this system is designed is we are not giving any access to people editor so that managers or the employees, they will not be having access to people editor. We are lucky because we are a super user. So we have access to all these items. Whatever you see here, people editor, timekeeping, whatever is available here and whatever is available in the setup, we have access to that. But whether the manager should be or the employee should be having access to what we'll be determining. There will be each item, each topic for each item. So here we saw hyperfine and people editor. Hyperfine means this is just Genie. I'll open up something else so that we can see what is it. This is hyperfine. All home and other items. These are hyperfine. So out of these hyperfine, what they should have access to will determine on this item. If you click hyperfine first, whether they should have access to or not to hyperfine will be determined on the first column. They're disallowing it. And what are the queries they should have access to that we can define? This is more like hyperfines will be visible to them but they will not be able to edit it. So, if you choose like one for Australian employees, I gave a condition and I created it by clicking on edit. I created a few conditions and I made them work, so that access will not be available to the manager or the employees here, because we have, as per this system, this is disabled. Only if it is an engine implementation and they're implementing it from a different system to Kronos. They might ask you to do it from scratch and they will give you a proper Excel sheet which is like this. It will have all these rows, all these columns, and it'll say what is allowed and what is not allowed. Or if the company is not aware, the client is not aware of the Kronos, we need to create a document like this and ask him for each and every one. That will go around for 2 to 3 months. We need to get each and every record on what is allowed, what is not allowed, and then we create it. Again, if the client is unaware, Kronos has a default format. Okay, this is available for manager. This is available for employee. Like this, we have 4 standard formats. Which one do you need to pick up? Just see and tell us, they will tell. So we can pick up one out of that. If you are very much confused on which to go, there are a number of items to see. We can choose a particular template. Here some items are allowed and some items are disallowed, right? Like this, they will show us a template. Okay, this is option 1 for manager, this is option 2 for manager, this is option 3. In this option 1, these will be enabled, these will be disallowed. In option 2, these will be enabled, these will be disallowed. Like that, they will give us some insights. We can choose it from that one. Or if we have a custom requirement, we can draft our requirement. And we can create it on our own or for initial implementation. Kronos will support us. This is more of an interview for questions where they'll be asking where we are restricting each and every functionality. We are doing it in through function access profile. This will have each and every item. Whenever we get time, just go through it, but don't change anything here. This will totally disturb. Since we are super user, we'll have access to everything. But if we change anything here, that will totally disturb the system's atmosphere. So just view it, it will not make any issues. Just have a view on it. So, example, if you see super access, this is what we have. For us, everything will be allowed. And we will not be able to see that. What access scope is this? Manager, everything will be allowed to us. Allowed, 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 allowed. Not like others. We'll have allowed to everything. You can always go to help when you get time. You can go to help and you can see all the options. We'll have subtopics there. You can see that. First, prefer the help, which will have proper definitions. But this we cannot go each and every one of them because this will have around 500, 600 subtopics. This is like whatever we see in the people editor, whatever we see in the access login screen. Everything comes under this. What is allowed and what is not allowed. And if we are going to give a partial allowance, then we need to click on the plus item and then choose out of this topic what we are allowing and what we are not allowing. Example this, see here. Can the employee punch from a mobile application? Can he punch only through system? Like this is where we determine whether the employee can punch through mobile or not. For us, everything is allowed, but for the employee, we can choose whether that particular company is allowing mobile punching or not. So that is about function access profile. So more or less these are the items which are available under access profile. I'm sure these items you will have clear idea. This is like we are creating a folder and then assigning it to the employee. Pay codes or reports or workloads, shift or pattern updates. Generic data profile. Again, what are the setup categories that should be visible to the managers? Mostly note this down. This is available one-to-one, but you can also use it only for the managers, not for the employees. Only if he has the manager license, then only this item will be visible to him. This determines under setup what are the items available. Should be visible to the manager. If nothing should be visible, we can keep it empty also. Then login profile. It's just how the password should be, when it should expire, how we can set up a password, the condition to set up a password. These items will be available here. This is the major chunk which has all the functionality access, which is available, what should be, what function access should be available, and what shouldn't be available. And even under a particular functionality, if we need to give a partial functionality access, that also we can do through this. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.